Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Queen Sugar Season 3, Episode 12, which was titled The Horizon Leans Forward. So Michael runs into his friend KJ, who was one of the kids that was with them when they set the fire at the plantation. And he lets Micah know that their friend Aunt was on house arrest, but Micah is still positive that everything is going to be okay. So KJ tells Micah that he won't suffer the same punishment. He also feels like he may have ruined his chances for going to college. So Micah reassures his friend that he's with him, that he's not going to flake on him, that, if they all stick together, it'll all work out. So you guys, I didn't recap last week's episode, but there was a scene where Aunt Vi was being interviewed for this show called Wake Up Nola. So that episode is airing and Charlie's at home watching when Prosper walks in. So he's feeling better, because remember in the last episode he fell, and Charlie came home and helped him get up. And so he's feeling better and he's on the phone and he's telling his family that he's going to be back into his house soon, that Charlie's working everything out. So we learned that the city council is going to vote in 2 days about the prison that's supposed to be coming. And so Prosper asked Charlie if she would go and speak on behalf of everybody, but Charlie says no, that she doesn't think that's a good idea. And we know that that is because she has gotten into bed with the Landrys and nobody knows yet. So she says to Prosper that she doesn't think that it's a good idea, but Prosper wants to know why. And so Charlie finally breaks down and lets him know that she sold the mill, that she sold Queen Sugar to the Landrys. And so, once people find that out, they're not going to be looking at her too favorably. But she explains to Prosper, that she sold the mill as a way to protect the other farmers, but Prosper isn't buying it. And he was like, "You're doing business with the devil, Charlie. You thought anyone wouldn't see that, and that's the real reason you don't want to speak before the council." So later on, Prosper, he's still upset and angry with Charlie, which is kind of awkward when you're living in the woman's house. But he tells her that the other farmers are angry with her and that she's got to figure out how to work this thing out. So then Micah comes in and he overhears the conversation. But Prosper is like, despite what Charlie's done, he still wants to fight. And so, he's like, it doesn't mean that we stop fighting because everybody's upset. We still want to hear what you have to say. So when Prosper leaves, Micah says that he's leaving also to go see Aunt. And Charlie is like, the hell you are? So the two of them get to going back and forth. And they're just waiting on Charlie to bust Micah in his mouth and chop him across the throat, like black mamas do when them kids be talking back. But then Micah tells her that if he was the one with the charges, that Charlie would be snitching on everybody. Like, boy, so he's telling her like Aunt shouldn't go through this alone because he wasn't alone when the fire started, that they were all there with him. So I think I picked up in last week's episode, remember how I'm always asking y'all what happened to Micah's car, and nobody ever responds and let me know what happened to Micah's car. But it seems that it has become convenient to the writers for Micah to have that car back because he's been doing some driving. I think when David showed up in last episode, Micah, he said something to Micah, "Are you going to drive, or do I need to pick you up," or something like that. So then in this episode, we find out that Micah, storms out on Charlie and goes to see Aunt. So he's obviously driving on his own. And then also, I think when Charlie went to the school to confront Micah about what had happened at the plantation, she also mentioned something about the car, and he stormed off like he was leaving and he didn't need her to take him home. So over at Aunt's, Michael says that it's not fair that he's taking the fall for all of them. But Aunt says that he's looking forward to it being over, and Michael tells him that no matter what, I'm going to be here for you. I'm not going to let you down. Over at Aunt Vi's, Charlie is on the phone, and Nova is also there. So Aunt Vi is going over her seating arrangements for her wedding reception, and Charlie asks for a +1. Then Aunt Vi asked if Nova was bringing a +1, and then things get silent, between Charlie and Nova. So Aunt Vi notices and asks them, what's going on. So Nova tells her about Remy, but says that it's over. She thought that it was something real between her and Remy, but now she realizes that it was the right thing to do because that was Charlie's ex-boyfriend. And so Aunt Vi goes off on both of them for even having the situation going on, and she tells Nova that she was wrong for dating Remy, and that she was also wrong for writing about Ernest and his alleged suicide attempt. Nova pleads that she thought her relationship with Remy was special, that it was real, but Aunt Vi isn't hearing it. It was basically like, why you want your sister's sloppy seconds? And the whole thing got me to thinking about how just in life in general, how we make so many decisions about our lives based on what society is telling us is wrong. Like, oh, you shouldn't do that because your sister dated him. And it's not like Charlie, she only dated Remy like for a month or so, based on this timeline that all 4 seasons have taken place over the span of a year. She never had sex with Remy. I think she may have kissed him a couple of times. Like, they weren't in a real deep relationship, and Nova came between them and cheated with Remy behind Charlie's back. So I see situations. I had a co-worker whose wife died, and everybody was saying that he was getting married too soon, and that he married one of his wife's co-workers. So people were angry about that. But I'm thinking to myself, here it is over 10 years later, and him and his wife are so happy. They got a baby together. They raised the children that him and his first wife had together, and the first wife had passed away. So it wasn't like she was hurting about it, but people with their rules, with their, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and it's just all crazy. And then I was thinking, what if it was 10 years later and Remy and Nova ended up running, they had moved away from St. Joe and ended up running into each other and decided to date? Would it still be wrong for the two of them not to be together? It just seems to me that a lot of people have missed out on their opportunities to be happy and to have love because of these unspoken rules that you can't date this person because they dated that person and that type of stuff. And I'm just thinking that if you did not interfere with that relationship coming to an end, what damn difference does it make? So it's the night of the city council meeting, and everybody walks in. The farmers, they're giving Charlie the side eye. And so Sam Landry and his sister, they also show up to support the prison. And so he stops by to greet Charlie, which catches the ear of Nova, like, I know you can get ready to talk to this man. So although Ralph Angel is by her side, Nova and Charlie, they kind of keep their distance, and which Ralph Angel takes notice of. And so he tells them oh, y'all being messy. So when the meeting begins, a mill worker stands up and says that, they have his full support for the prison, which would bring in jobs, and, just basically talking up the whole idea and how it's going to be great for the community. And of course, he was white. So then a spokesman for the prison begins to speak about the program, but is continually interrupted by the farmers. And one, the farmers are saying, we already got lives, you're taking them away, and who's going to fill this prison once it's built? So the black people understand that they are going to be the ones that's going to be in this prison, and that's going to be the white people actually working for the prison. Then Remy stands up and says that, the prison will harm the community. And so things don't get any better for Charlie when Cardell Stewart, a farmer and family friend, stands and challenges her and was like, oh, big talk now. What did you think would happen when you sold your mill to the same family that's trying to kick us off our land? And so then at this point, you know, the crowd starts murmuring and everything. So Charlie has to get up and defend her actions. And she's like, you know, I gave up the meal to leverage fair rates for you guys to keep you in business. And, you know, they were going to keep coming for us. And I did it so that we could all live to fight another day, you know, but the prison, you know, this prison, if they build it, that day will never come, you know, they'll make sure of it. Then she turns around to face the podium, you know, where the prison official was standing, and I think his name was Lawrence something, so is addressed, you know, so when he's standing and talking, and so she peppers him with questions and facts, you know, pointing out that his other facilities pay just above minimum wage, and the fact that they exploit the free labor of prisoners to fill most of the jobs. And she also points out that where the influx of Southern inmates going to come from, you know, and are they counted? And then she talks about how people that are in prison prisons are usually built in Republican districts, and then the prisoners are counted as members of the district, you know, because kind of like boost numbers and that type of thing. And even though they don't get to vote, they boost the politicians' clout, like up in, like how much, oh God, I can't explain it, but I was reading about this recently, but it's like it expands their districts and their territory, even though you got all these black people in the prison, which gives them like more voting power, I guess, and more money that they can bring back to their district, even though the majority of the people from their district is actually incarcerated. So after Charlie gets through tearing in their butt, the people in the audience are now turning on her side, and so they start clapping for her and everything, and so Charlie's feeling a little better. So after the meeting is over, Charlie's in the bathroom, and one of the farmers is in there, and she's telling Charlie, you know, thank you for what she did, and then she walks out. Then Sam Landry's sister walks in and asks Charlie, you know, how is she doing? Meanwhile, Aunt Vi is baking pies with her team, and so the phones are ringing off the hook. She's getting all these orders. She don't know how she's going to keep up. And then all of a sudden, Aunt Vi starts having chest pains and falls to the ground. And so the worker, I think her name is Rhonda, you know, tells the other lady, get my pocketbook, get my keys. I need to take her to the hospital. I'm thinking like, y'all better call 911 because they got to stand Aunt Vi up and walk her out. And I'm like, if I'm having a heart attack, do I really want to be walking right now? But anyway, it's television. So they get Aunt Vi on to the hospital, and Aunt Vi says she doesn't think it's anything serious, that it's just her lupus, and I guess this is one of the signs of lupus. But anyway, they get her on to the hospital, and then Hollywood comes see about it and get her back home and into bed. So she's back at home, and everybody is there, all the borderline kids and everything. They're surrounding her in the bed like she about to die or something. So Hollywood makes her go ahead and tell everybody else, because I think only Hollywood and Nova know about the lupus. So Charlie and Ralph Angel are just finding out for the first time that Aunt Vi has lupus. And so she's basically telling them that, you know, she needs help and for them to chip in, you know, because she doesn't want to lose her business. She needs to fill all these pie orders. So they're telling her, don't worry about it. They're going to take care of everything. They'll go in and they'll bake the pies and keep everything rolling. So Charlie thanks Nova for looking out for Aunt Vi, you know, even though they got their little tiff. And then Romero stops by, and Charlie introduces him to everybody, and she then uses him to help roll pies out to the truck. So he jokes with Charlie, saying that he rushed down to help because he wanted a pie. So after they count the pies, he asks her to come to his house. You know, he's going to cook dinner for her. So now it's the night of the actual council vote, and Charlie is talking to Sam Landry's sister, and she's telling her that Landry usually has all of the council people in his pocket, with the exception of this one woman named Councilman Ward. And she's like, you know, she usually plays it straight and does the right thing. You know, she doesn't fall behind Landry and his shenanigans. So Charlie tells her that, you know, she's no longer believing in the hope that her father Ernest had taught her. And so, you know, she's kind of like giving up slowly but surely, and just like not knowing how she's going to fight the Landrys if the vote goes against them. So the vote comes in from the city council, and the parliamentarian reads the vote out loud, and they seem to be along racial lines, and so it's 3-3, and it turns out that Councilman Ward is the one that has to break the tie. And lo and behold, she decides to vote for the prison. So did we expect anything different? Now, I cannot for the life of me figure out what Sam Landry's sister's whole deal is, because in last week's episode, when they found out that they had, so Charlie got the shares from Landry's son, but then when they got there to show their hand and show that they had more shares than Landry thought they did, Landry revealed that they had already voted, but he didn't notify Charlie that they had changed the time of the vote, so her votes don't count. But we never did find out if the sister had voted or how she voted, and she just always had this little look on her face like, I don't know if she's saying she played Charlie for a fool, or she still got a trick up her sleeve and for Charlie not to worry, but she just always had this look on her face. So after the vote was read, her and Charlie make eye contact, and once again she has this look on her face. So as Nova is hugging Charlie, Sam's sister walks out, still with that look on her face. And so Prosper also gives looks of disappointment and sadness, you know, to Charlie, like, God damn, what we gonna do now? So when they, and then also, where is Jacob Boudreaux? Because ever since he took Charlie over to that house to meet his mama, have we seen him on any other episode? Was he even there when they did the vote? Because if he was, he didn't say anything. And then he hasn't been pursuing Charlie, you know, the same way that he had been doing in the beginning. So once again, the writer's kind of like leaving us in the dark with what's going on with him. So when they get back to the house, you know, Prosper's sitting downstairs by himself. And so Charlie walks past, and she really can't say anything to him because she's so hurt and disappointed, because she knows that this means that he can't get his house back. And so after Charlie goes upstairs, he picks up his cell phone and he calls his daughter and tells his daughter that it's time for her to come and get him. And I was just like, oh, poor Prosper. Like, can we get a Hail Mary, writers? Like, can something good happen so Prosper doesn't have to leave the show? So Charlie sits on the side of her bed in tears, and Micah's studying his black and white photos that he's been taking. They're like spread out all over his bed. So then he grabs his phone and begins to research how to hold a rally. Like if you're not a big organization and you just want to do like a grassroots rally. Not sure why he didn't call Nova and ask Nova this, because she's a pro at this. We go over to Ralph Angel and Darla, who seem to be on better terms now that Darla's mom has gone back to DC. And I guess part of the arrangements while the courts are trying to figure out what to do, or the lawyers are trying to figure out, is that they'll meet and advise how to pick up, you know, to exchange Blue. So Blue runs out of the house to greet Darla, and then he hugs Ralph Angel, you know, before he leaves. So Darla tells Ralph Angel that her mom has gone back to DC and she won't be involved much more with the visitation mediation. So Darla has Blue, and she's teaching him how to ride a bicycle, which I don't understand how Ralph Angel, been this great father, got his son this Kenya doll, but he ain't got his son no bicycle or taught him how to ride a bicycle, and the boy's 7 years old already. So Blue is having trouble. You know, he has his little insecurities. He keeps falling, and then all of a sudden he decides he don't want to try anymore. He take off his helmet, throw it on the ground. Darla's begging him to come back, but he doesn't want to come back. So then he storms off, and he's another little child on these shows that need to get their behind whooped. And Queen Sugar and Power are showing us that when you let children have too much free reign, that you lose total control, and that this is why we need discipline of our children. The show ends with Ralph Angel and Blue, and they're outside to show him how to ride his bicycle. So he tells Blue, you know, not to quit. And Blue tells him, you know, not to let go of the bike until he says that it's okay. And then Ralph Angel agrees, and Blue begins to pedal the bicycle. So Blue struggles for a while, and Ralph Angel tells him, to just trust him and Darla. And the next go round, Blue gets it, and now he's riding his bike. So caught up in the moment and the excitement of Blue, riding the bike on his own, Ralph Angel kind of like reaches out for Darla, and looks like everything's gonna be okay. So afterwards, Darla suggests to Ralph Angel that they split custody equally. And he seems to agree and tells Darla that he's planning to take Blue to the beach. So while they're having this conversation, they're actually sitting on the porch in the rocking chairs like an old couple. And Blue is out, in the yard riding the bicycle back and forth. But then Darla did throw some shade at Ralph Angel, because Ralph Angel says that he wants to ride up and down the coast and teach Blue all these things and take Blue all these places. And so he says, I think I want to take him to Disneyland too. So then Darla sitting there saying, now Disneyland is in California. You talking about riding down the Gulf Coast, which would take you down to Florida where Disney World is. She was like, do you mean Disney World? And then he was like, I mean both. I want to take him to Disneyland and to Disney World. So, the episode ends with the two of them, like I said, they just sitting there, rocking in the chair, looking at Blue, looking like they about to fall in love again. And y'all know we ain't seen Trend in 3 episodes. And I just hate how people just come and go and you don't know what the status is of the relationship. And so next week is the season finale. And child, y'all know I keep saying week after week that I am waiting on that robbery Ralph Angel pulled in episode 1 to come back and bite him in his ass. Well, the next week, Ralph Angel gonna get arrested. So I don't know if it's finally coming to bite him in the butt. And also there was a scene where he talked to his parole officer, and the parole officer told him that he had been approved for early release off of parole, and he should be getting off in a month, I think it was. So looks like Ralph Angel might be the first resident of that prison that they get ready to build in St. Joe, but we just have to wait and see. So guys, that's it for me. Leave your comments below. If I missed anything, drop it in the comments. If I got something wrong, drop it in the comments. Or if it's just something that really stood out in this episode for you, drop that in the comments. And rate the video, subscribe to the channel, share on your social media platforms. And until the next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.